Welcome back here to the Jordy Culotta Show, live on this Tuesday morning, giving reaction to SEC Media Days yesterday. Also, we'll give our thoughts on Ed Orgeron and LSU as they made their way around the media yesterday in Hoover, Alabama. Today, you'll get your first look at Josh Heupel from Tennessee. Kirby Smart from Georgia will be a part of the morning selection, and then this afternoon it'll be Ole Miss and Kentucky. Mark Stoops and Lane Kiffin will be over in Hoover, Alabama. We were there yesterday and saw a boatload of people, a lot of people down there in Hoover, including our friend Jake Crain of the J-Boy Show. If you're looking for SEC material, if you're looking for SEC content, my guy J-Boy has got it, man. His podcast is fantastic. You can check him out on social media. He's all over the place, and it was good seeing you yesterday over in Hoover, Alabama, man. Thanks for the time this morning. Welcome in. Good morning. How are you?
Man, first off, Jordy, I appreciate you having me on. It was great to see you yesterday, brother, and run into you and chat for a bit. And excited, man. You know, SEC Media Days is like a jumping-off point, meaning we are close to the season. It was good to see everybody, good to see everybody moving around, and was a great first day and really pumped for day two.
We talked about Greg Sankey and his message yesterday, and for the most part, some of these that we've been to over the last couple of years, Sankey will get on the podium, and he'll be there for 25, 30 minutes, but he doesn't say much. I thought yesterday he said a lot in his time at the microphone, moreover looking at the future of the NCAA and whether or not where it fits into the power structure of college sports. What did you take away from Sankey's opening remarks?
You know, to me, I thought he felt pretty and only word I can think of is kind of presidential in the way that he delivered it. You know, he delivered it, with some passion, more passion than we typically see from Greg Sankey. But to me, if something does happen with the NCAA and they're looking for somebody to be the president of a new organization that deals with this or the head of that, I think Greg Sankey is the perfect guy. I mean, you look at the way he led the way when everybody else was panicking, when the Big Ten was panicking, when the Pac-12 was panicking, when the Big 12 was panicking. He really kind of stayed the course at the most dominant conference in football. And he's got some swag about him, Jordy. I mean, he really does. I mean, the guy walks in the room, gets up there, and you can tell he's saying what he actually believes. And I think that's the difference, is that, it's a real genuine, authentic feel. I think he was excited. I think he's pumped up about this season, just like all of us are. But no, I was very impressed, as I usually am with Greg Sankey.
Matt Corral will be there today with Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss. He's only one of three quarterbacks that will be in Hoover this week from SEC schools. Yesterday, LSU was there with Derek Stingley Jr., and a lot of people believe that he could be a true superstar of the sport here in 2021. What did you take away from LSU's remarks and LSU working their way around SEC Media Days on Monday?
Yeah, I thought Edo did a great job. I mean, and listen, he's always been a confident guy. His teams are always going to be confident. But you can tell they have a chip on their shoulder, and I think that's where LSU does best. I don't think LSU does best as the reigning champ or anything like that. I think they do better as the outsider. I got to talk to Austin Deculus and Stingley yesterday, and I know they're both pumped. I talked with Austin about just how close the locker room was, and he's like, look, man, I know it's cliche, but this is as close as a group as you could possibly see. And I want to say something to LSU fans and the fans in general, because I think there's a common misconception. I was lucky enough to coach for 9 years, 5 at the Division I level, and it's amazing the perception of what's going on and then what's going on in the locker room. And what do I mean by that? LSU, they've had negative press and negative PR and some things, about Coach O and the team and the way it is there. And everybody thinks, oh, that's going to lead to the downfall of a team. Most of the time in that locker room, that brings everybody closer. Now the us against the world argument that Edo can throw out there works, and the guys really think in that locker room, it is us versus everybody else. And the type guy that Edo is, he'll take that. We'll bet on us. And I think that's going to actually help LSU. And look, I'm not saying the allegations, all that stuff shouldn't be taken seriously, and I know they are and stuff like that. Not that it's important. But for the players, it's amazing how that can bring you together. That's why I think they're going to go out there and smack UCLA out there in California, get on the plane, and hop back to Baton Rouge.
You had Brad Johnson on your show, and yesterday Coach Orgeron was talking about his quarterback scenario going into the season. You and I have talked in depth about this. I believe that Max Johnson is LSU's best quarterback. I believe he gives them the best chance to win. After your discussions with Brad, after listening to Coach Orgeron yesterday, and after doing your research, like you guys do on the J-Boy show, what do you think about LSU's quarterback spot going into fall camp?
Yeah, well, the way I look at this, number one, it's hard not to play a guy that went undefeated, basically, was playing well as the starter, got hurt, got taken out because he was hurt. But I look at the fit, and I think Max Johnson has a ton of potential. And look, I know Miles is an older guy, and I get that. But the best player plays. If you really want to win at this level, the best player has to play. And when I turn on the tape and then I look at the offense that Jake Peetz and DJ and them want to run down there, it fits what Max does, not only from the ability to, scramble and run and do all these things, but it makes the RPO that much more dangerous. It makes the zone read that much more dangerous. It makes the jet sweep, where you don't know if it's going to be a play action or not, that much more dangerous. And the biggest part is now Jake has no problem. Not that Miles can't do sprint out or anything like that, but Max is able to get out quicker. He'll be able to boot quicker. He'll just be able to do things in that offense, because I think you're going to get a mixture a little bit of what you saw from Joe Brady, to kind of spread you out, throw to space, rub routes, NFL style, from the outside of the perimeter, outside the hashes. I think you're going to get a little bit of what you saw from Steve Sarkisian, being able to also line up tight, do things out of bunch sets, do things out of orbit motions where the guy's motioning behind the quarterback. You saw that a lot in the national championship game with Devontae Smith. And to be able to do that, the defense having to account for the quarterback running. Because, listen, you guys remember 2019. Every play that gets drawn up that scores typically doesn't go exactly like you thought it would. Whether that's somebody extending the play and it turns into a scramble drill and you hit Boutte for a touchdown, or maybe, the corner plays a different leverage and you have to do something else. But the ability to extend the play, the ability to move the pocket, the ability to make the defense have to say, all right, listen, if we're going to have to spy this guy, we're going to have to take the guy out of coverage. Well, we don't really want to go two-man, because then we're going to have to stunt the front. And if they run the back out, the mic's gone and Max may go for 70. So it creates so many more problems in preparation for the defense. That's why I think Max Johnson needs to be the starter.
Jay Crain from the J-Boy show is you hear that answer right there. That's one of the reasons why you got to check out his podcast.
I thought it was Merrill Hodge.
Great information, a great analyst, and has got great connections. He's got great relationships as well. He brings on great guests. As we said, he was talking to Brad Johnson late last week. All right, before we get to today and preview some of the other teams in the conference, tell me where you got LSU going into the season.
Well, I got LSU finishing second in the West, and I think they're actually going to have an identical record to A&M at the end of the year, but A&M goes to LSU the last week of the regular season in the SEC. I think LSU is going to win that game. And look, I think, and I'm not going to bet against Saban, guys. I'm just not going to do it. I don't care if they had to replace everything except the tires on the bus. I'm not going to bet against Saban. But when I look at this LSU team, like I said, I think they're going to be pissed off. I really did that. And when I was talking to Stingley yesterday, I could just feel it from him a little bit. And, like I said, coached for 9 years, and I got good instincts on guys. And he is so ready to go. He wanted to literally cover me as I was walking out of the building. That's how ready to go he is. He was smiling. He was excited. He's so excited to play with Ricks and those guys. But what I like about LSU is we all know how talented they are. They'll never be void of talent. But I really think they're all going in the same direction this year, which is one of the hardest things to do as a coach. And when you're able to do that, and they need to start off well, guys, because again, snowballs roll downhill. That's why I could use that expression without cursing. But they've got to be able to. Yeah. Oh wow. Okay. There we go. Cool. That's true. That's true, man. I've been doing too much, just true rated stuff. That's my fault. But no, I really believe at the end of the day, when you look at this LSU team, not only this year, but I think they're going to have a huge year 2 years from now as well. When Mason Smith is your third-string defensive tackle, a kid that would start as a true freshman at most places, I believe in that team.
Do you think it's more – we've had this conversation around the studio a little bit. Do you think it's more important for LSU to win the first game against UCLA and drop an SEC West game, albeit to whomever, or to lose to UCLA and maybe have a run-of-the-mill SEC West season?
Yeah, we can't lose to the Pac-12, man. Here's what I think. Football, just like life, is a game of momentum and angle. That's what it is. And when you go out and you got all this stuff going on outside the peripheral and stuff like this, you go out, you beat UCLA, you come back, you get some more momentum. I think it propels you into the SEC season where you are confident. You go out there and lose to UCLA, all of a sudden it's, oh, no, here we go again.
The quarterback.
It just becomes everybody becomes the coach, and they need to do this and they need to do that, and Is Edo on the hot seat? Because you guys don't listen. If they go out and lose to UCLA, people are going to start saying Edo's on the hot seat.
Oh, for sure.
They really are, in my opinion, with everything going on. So they need to go out there, go out to Cali, grab you a dub, get back on the bus, party a little bit, get on the plane, get back to Baton Rouge, and get ready for week 2. They do that. I think that's the most important thing.
J-Boy showing why he fits in well around here on the Jordy Culotta Show. You'll get your chance to beat Josh Heupel today, wearing Tennessee orange. You'll see Lane Kiffin in with Matt Corral, who a lot of people talking yesterday believe him to be the best quarterback in the league. Where do you see the star power at that position with only 3 quarterbacks making the trip over to Hoover this week and Corral being one of them? Do you meet the best quarterback in the conference today with Corral coming from Oxford?
Yes. Yes, I do. When you watch Matt, and I'll say this, I don't know if I've seen in a while, outside of and really just talking about Joe Brady and Joe Burrow, but a better, we used to call it the triangle, the head coach, the OC, and the quarterback when the head coach is an offensive guy, other than Lane Kiffin, Jeff Lebby, and Matt Corral. And when you watch Matt, the thing that I like about Matt that, you turn on the game Saturday and you see him doing well, and, he had a couple bad games last year, but you're like, man, this guy's so athletic and so talented. Matt prepares at a very, very high level. It's stuff that you don't see. It's spending extra time in the film room. It's understanding, all right, the corner's playing outside leverage here. It's going to be cover 2. Here's where I can attack. He's playing inside leverage. It's going to be his own coverage, probably quartered, maybe cover 6 if they run some of the combo stuff. So he understands what he's looking at. Him and Lane are so on the same page. Him and Levy are so on the same page that the difference at this level, guys, there's so many talented guys. You put all these quarterbacks in the room, a lot of them are talented. You take the names off, and you would have a totally different order than what it actually was. What separates guys at this level, there's 2 things, preparation and instinct. And Matt Corral has those 2 things at a very important position. He's also a leader. And look, when you feel like you have freedom, in my opinion, that's been the difference in Georgia being able to get over the hump against Alabama. When you have freedom as a quarterback and a play caller, you become very, very dangerous. And when you look at Ole Miss, I'm big on Braylon Sanders. I know they lost Elijah Moore. I know they lost Boa. I'm big on Mingo. And listen, Lane and Levy are going to score points, but Matt sets them up, and I really think his decision-making is going to continue to improve. I love the way his athleticism, like I said, being able to extend the play, something we talked about with Max earlier. So at the end of the day, I think Matt Corral is the best quarterback in the league. I saw those PSF rankings and almost laughed till I puked.
Has Tennessee gotten it right with Heupel, in your opinion?
Listen, here's the way I feel about that hire, and I tell Josh this to his face. I probably will today. It's like I feel like Josh, this relationship is like the girl you date before you find the one you're going to marry for Tennessee. Like you look at the NCAA storm cloud that's coming. They're going to hit them with at least a year of probation. They're going to lose scholarships. It's a stopgap hire to me. And what I'm interested to see is I don't think this isn't UCF. This isn't the AAC. You can't sit here and go warp speed on offense when you don't have the personnel to do it. And believe me, Tennessee does not have the personnel offensively or defensively because everybody just thinks about the repercussions on offense. If you start going fast like this, you get a quick 3 and out, whatever. Where it gets you is the defense. And Tennessee does not have a lot of depth on defense. So if you want to go warp speed and you get 2 or 3 and outs and you're down 14-0, and all of a sudden by the third quarter your defense has already been on the field for 75 plays, you are going to get blown out of the water. To me, it's almost like going to see the Globetrotters play. It's going to be really good on offense. The final score really doesn't matter because it's not a real league, even though it is a real league in the SEC. But for Tennessee this year, I think it's a stopgap hire. That's no knock on Josh Heupel, but they weren't going to get Billy Napier with all this stuff going on. They weren't going to go get Jamie Chadwell with all this. Why would those guys that built up equity at those places waste it going into Tennessee and when the SEC is at its all-time high and you're going to have to fight with your hands tied behind your back? So they got to get through this storm cloud. They need to get the allegations out there. They need to find out. I know the administration up there is pressing to please just tell us what the penalty is. What do we need to self-impose? So, look, Josh is a good guy. Danny White hired the guy that worked for him before when he was at UCF. But no, I don't think Tennessee, I don't think this will be a long marriage. I think they'll stick around for the kids a little bit and then break it off.
Kirby Smart, this morning, will be featured with Georgia. It seems like he's got a really good team and he might have a quarterback. Where do you see Georgia competing in the East this season?
I got Georgia win the national championship, boys and girls.
Whoa.
Yeah. And listen, guys. I haven't been in, and it's so weird to say this, in media for not even a year yet. So I haven't been one of these people that have been like, well, Georgia's going to win it this year. No, Georgia's going to win it this year. No, Georgia's going to win it this year. I look at the roster and I look at the schedule, and I just talked about that triangle between Lane, Levy, and Matt. I think the triangle of Kirby, Todd Monken, and JT Daniels, and really the mixture of Todd Monken and JT Daniels, is going to let Kirby say, you know what? It's almost like having a Zen garden in front of him. You know what? We're just going to let the offense ride. I think Georgia may pass the run this year, believe it or not. And I know they have a stable in the backfield. You got James Cook, you got Milton, you got McIntosh, you got Zeus, you got all these guys. But JT Daniels, like Matt Corral, is an unbelievable student of the game. I love their wide receiver core because a lot of people don't talk about, Georgia's wide receiver core has really let them down. They've really let them down. And you'd have thought when Pickens goes down, oh no. But then you look around, you got Kyrus Jackson, you got Blaylock. Darnell Washington at tight end is straight out of Mordor, guys. 6'7", 285, can snatch it out of the air. And then you look at Eric Gilbert, who's going to be eligible. Surprise, surprise.
Yeah.
He's going to be eligible. Yeah, I know, right? Thank goodness. Thank goodness for what is it? University of Phoenix. I guess Larry Fitzgerald.
Yeah, right.
But
All-American online.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. But no, man, just looking at it, Georgia's roster, and again, what was the deficiency people were saying? Well, the secondary. They were almost to the point going through spring where they were going to have to mix up the defense because they didn't have the depth in the secondary, believe that or not, with a Kirby Smart coach team. Then they add Tyke Smith, who may be a day one, day two guy in the NFL draft. They're going to put it nickel. You had Darion Kendrick, one of the only guys to leave Clemson's defense, goes to Georgia, and a bad spat of irony. I think that's absolutely hilarious. He's got NFL talent as well. You add that with the other guys that they have, and up front with Jordan Davis and Nakobe Dean in the middle. I think Georgia gets over the hump because Kirby takes a deep breath and says, Todd, JT, y'all go get this butter, boys.
Do you have them beating Clemson week 1?
Yeah, well, wow. I think that may be the best bet. That may be the best bet of the year. I mean, you got Georgia +4. If you're feeling a little dangerous, take a money line. Here's my thing. Look, Clemson is a really good – Dabo's built an SEC team over there. That's really what he's done. Mm-hmm. And I understand they return a lot on defense. But I really believe offensively they're going to struggle a little bit against Georgia. I've got to see DJ. And listen, I saw, DJ went and tore it up in the ACC and against Notre Dame and all this stuff. But what happens when all those teams end up playing SEC team? They get folded like a cheap IKEA 10 anyway. So when I'm looking at it this year, I think Georgia not only beats Clemson, I think Georgia runs the table, and Kirby Smart becomes the first former Saban assistant to beat him in the SEC championship.
Wow. J-Boy Show. The podcast runs every day. Jake Crain is there in Hoover. You can find him at the J-Boy Show on social media. What can the fans expect today and the coverage of Hoover? How do we find you and how do we keep up?
Oh yeah. Well, we're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. We actually just dropped our Volume 1 of SEC Media Days this morning. We talked to T-Bob Hebert, a guy you guys know very well. Talking some Edo, LSU. We're also going to drop our interview with Austin Deculus and Derek Stingley Jr. this afternoon. So everybody needs to go to @JBoyNotes right now on Twitter. Our @TheJBoy Show account got hacked. Surprise, surprise. They're working on it right now, but we all know, how slow Twitter is. Unless it's political, they don't help you out for a while. So, and I'm not going down that route. But just now, everybody go check us out. We're going to be dropping content all day and, throughout basically every day. So subscribe on Apple, Spotify, YouTube. Hit that like button as well. Comment if you want, good or bad. I love dissent. Echo chambers will be the death of us all. Coaching is dissent. And I really appreciate you guys having me on, Jordy. It was great to see you yesterday, my friend.
Great to see you, bro. Looking forward to the home and home in the football season and sharing information.
For sure.
Thank you, man. We'll talk soon. All right, bro.